incredibly intelligent bit.
Yeah. Welcome to Stockholm.
Thank you
Mr.
very
Healy.
much.
We will let you start right away with your presentation. But
Okay.
first, you're going to show a video for us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And a dance.
It's a great day, I'm feeling good. Oh, the possibilities of what I could, do with the world at my fingertips. My imagination brings a smile up to my lips. Oh, fascinated, I'm moving fast. Oh, I'm optimistic as the days go past. Oh, opportunity is here for me. So come along and take a look because I want you to see. The world is yours, look a little bit closer. If you want it, come and get it. You can take it over. You can make your tomorrows what you want them to be. You got the power in your hands to shape your history. You gotta take it up a level and go up higher. Put more fuel in the tank and turn up the fire. Come on and take a look to your destiny. And come on up with me. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up to the top, won't stop. Now I'm feeling it. Celebrate life, good times all around. I wanna keep it simple so it's not complicated. And what goes up doesn't have to come down. Oh, it's looking like another Sunday. Good days are here, no, I'm not waiting on one day. Get up, get moving, and come on and see. Because it's time to live a life that's happy and free. The world is yours, look a little bit closer. If you want it, come and get it. You can take it over. You can make your tomorrows what you want them to be. You got the power in your hands to shape your history. You gotta take it up a level and go up higher. Put more fuel in the tank and turn up the fire. Come on and take a look to your destiny. And come on up with me. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up, 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 and up, up, up. We're going up.
So that's just to give you a feel for the kind of emotion and the passion that's in not just our company, my company, CarTrawler, but also the entire industry, the online industry, and the conversion, the science part of conversion. I'm struck by the irony when I'm in Sweden that there's an American with a load of electronic apparatus behind me and a clock ticking down. And as I'm from Ireland, we're not allowed to do that anymore. So I'll start off by telling you a little bit about CarTrawler. Just to put the idea into perspective, we're in the business of car rental, which, on its own as a sector, it's not the sexiest business to be in, albeit it is an online business and one growing very fast. The actual core product at the heart of it, car rental, is not something that people give a lot of thought to. Our business is quite a large sector. It's 45 billion annually. It's a little bit more than that now, and it grows about 4% year on year. So it's not a small industry. And it's a very, very global one. If I show you some of the customers that we're involved with now, most of our business is working with airlines, international airlines, and powering online travel agencies, anybody really that sells travel online across the world. Because of the nature of any online business that's in the travel sector, you're forced into very, very diverse customer base. So we have, on any one day, we'll sell to 110 different residencies. We sell just short of 3 million car rentals a year to an audience of just under 200 million consumers that see product that we display to them every year. And that's growing. This year it will grow close to 50% again. We're in business 8 years and we're growing like absolute crazy. And it's because of a combination of obviously the product that we have, but the sector that we're in is a disruptive sector where people are going from the travel agency, from phone calls to online, and they're doing it still in large numbers. So what we've been able to do is capture that and get into the consumer's face through our partnerships with airlines. So that's the essence of it. It sounds very simple, but it starts to get very, very complicated when you get a very, very large audience. When we talk about people of different nationalities, Germans, Brits, Americans, Chinese, even China now is a very big part of our business, we start to see a lot of differences in behavior. So when we think about behavior, the guys from services.se had a great presentation earlier on. They had some great statistics on conversion and optimizing the conversion funnel. And of course, that's a very important part of it, and I'll show you some examples of that. When we go a bit further than that, we get into economic or behavioral economics of the consumer. In other words, how consumers behave in an irrational way when they're online. Consumers don't do what you might expect them to do. In fact, they do things that are not in their own interest online. But the great thing is they do it in a predictable way. So you can understand how you can, I won't use the word manipulate, but how you can guide the user into something that maybe suits your particular product line better than necessarily the consumer might do, which would be a mistake for the consumer. And the example I would use in car rental is the low quality supplier versus a high quality supplier, and how you understand what way the consumer will behave depending on what you present to them. There's a great book by a guy called Dan Ariely, who's the professor of behavioral economics in Duke University, who goes into all of these ideas. But simple sample, in organ donation, 96% of Germans opt to donate their organs when they die, and only 60% of Austrians opt to donate their organs when they die. These are culturally similar countries with massive differences of organ donation. And that's a very small, a very small reason to cause that. It's simply opt in, opt out on the driver's license form. And that's an example of behavioral economics in work. Similarly, in car hire, 98% of Germans purchase the maximum possible insurance. 88% of Norwegians purchase the maximum possible insurance, and only 30% of British purchase the maximum possible insurance. What's behind that? Why do they do it? How do you manipulate the British to buy more insurance? How do you reinforce the product quality to the Germans? These are the kind of things that when you have a huge audience, you need to do to differentiate yourself. So I'll show you some examples of that. Here's a good one. This is our old view. We call this, on the left, the car type view, and on the right, the price view. So the right-hand side one is the most obvious. It's a bunch of cars, commodity product, in theory, organized by cheapest first. And if I did a survey here, I won't bother, but the statistics are 81% of people say, when asked about car rental, that the only thing they care about is price. That's the most important thing. And a very small percentage, about 15%, say that the car hire company brand, i.e. Hertz, Avis, and so on, is a factor for them. So when we put that to the test, on the left-hand side, we had a much nicer, much more functionally rich display with price being the lead and car type, cars, the big, the small, the compact cars on the left. So a far better booking engine on the left. And you could, design this for years as we did. We spent over a year not just designing, but building this. We had workshops. We videoed people using it. We applied the best possible science to UX testing and UX development to build this thing on the left that absolutely crashed. It was a disaster for us. The user did exactly what the user said they wouldn't do. All they cared about really was price in this case, but not specifically the cheapest price. They wanted you to communicate that you had the cheapest price, but they never actually purchased it. So when I look at the display on the right, you can see I didn't want to go back there actually. You can see the first two cars there. It's a bit hard to read, but they're roughly around the same price. So all the first cars are all really cheap. And on the left-hand side, the price goes from cheap straight away to quite a bit more expensive. The result is that not only did we increase conversion by 16%, but 61% of the people on the right-hand side didn't book the cheapest car in the end. They booked the second or the third most cheap car. So therefore, we generated more revenue per customer as well as generating a better conversion. So again, ignore what the user says when they're sitting in front of you and measure and try everything. And unfortunately for us, this particular solution only applies in certain markets. It doesn't apply in all the markets. For example, again, the Germans don't care about that one on the right and they prefer the one on the left. Prettiness is important, and I'm conscious, again, coming from Ireland, this audience coming from Sweden, far more pretty. The disaster on the left-hand side was how we ran our business for a number of years. And again, survey-based. But what did we do? We pulled in a load of English-speaking, mostly Irish people or students from Ireland into our offices, and we interviewed them and we got them to give their views. Actually, the version on the right, and you'd be hard-pressed to find out why this is, but the version on the right performed far better. If I can get the slide to go on, it's 7% better, just because it looks slightly better. And that's at the top part of the funnel. So that 7% directly translates into a 7% improvement to our overall revenue. And our business is just over 500 million euros in revenue now. So those little changes are big for us. Moving on to another sample. Again, functionality and structure of the product, very important. Simplicity. If I'm in a supermarket and I offer 20 types of jam or marmalade to a consumer, they'll be paralyzed by choice. Everyone knows about choice paralysis. This is it in action. On the left-hand side, you have choice paralysis, our original product. There's 153 cars there, I think it is, 111 cars there, and very, very difficult for the consumer to see or to choose. There's just too much there. On the right-hand side, you have immediately a filter that lets the consumer choose roughly the type of car that they want. Not exactly the type, but roughly the type, and eliminates from 111 cars there to about 15 for the consumer. So far easier to choose, and a 14% uplift is the end result. Those kind of things are easy to build. The problem with them is they're very hard to find. It's very hard to see when you look at a normal display what you can do with it. Remember that this is a very simple product. It really is a very simple product. All it is car rental, different car types, you know, Golfs, Mondeos, whatever, and prices. So in theory, it's very, very simple. But since we started our conversion team, and there's 30 people in our conversion team out of a total of 200 people in our company, we've delivered nearly 40% improvement in our conversion from the top of the funnel to the bottom. And that's not about revenue management or price changes. That's about simply applying science and testing to the top of that funnel. We can make that person stand up now, but trying to steal my thunder. There's some other simple examples. I'll just give you the data, because the great thing about CarTrawler is we have such a massive volume, you know, so many customers that we can really test where others can test, and it's one of the benefits of scale. There's plenty of, you know, non-benefits, but this is one of the great benefits. And this is our old calendar view, and the old argument was the best UX designers in the world said that anything pop-up has to be small and not obscure your core message. And our core message was the call to action button, was the search for cars button. Whatever we did, we needed to make sure that that button was always visible. And you know, the best UX designers in the world always said that if you obscure the call to action for any reason at all, it's bad for business. So we went ahead and obscured the call to action button as a test, and on the left hand side you have the old, and on the right hand side you have new. And our new calendar view, it takes up nearly the entire display. That's a standard display of 1024 pixels wide. If I could get the thing to move on now, you'll see that just 3% increase. So 3% is 15 million euros to our business, just by changing the size of that calendar control. I could print that calendar in gold and I'd still make money with that particular test. So you'll see online, and I'd love to tell you that this will work for you, but it may not work for you. The unfortunate thing about conversion testing and UX design is a lot of it is anchored to the core product that you're selling. And that's important. The core product underneath it determines the effectiveness of different things that you'll test. I have another example here. If this big green button had ever worked for me, there you go. Mobile, same thing on mobile. the optimization of widgets, of the small gestures and the controls on a display is far more effective on the smaller the device you get. So we're working now with 3 and 4 inch devices all the way up to 14-inch devices. That calendar change on a mobile had a 7% impact, far bigger. Unfortunately, our mobile traffic is only 5% of our business, or our smartphone traffic is only 5% of our business. So less overall impact, but bigger relative impact. Our tablet traffic is close to 30% of our business now. In the UK, it's over 30%, and in other core tier 1 markets, as we call them, it goes between 20 and 30%. So those kind of wins are more effective on tablet for us currently than they are on mobile, but they're still hugely important even on mobile in terms of the revenue they generate. Again, challenge what you hear. Even challenge the stuff I'm telling you, because the stuff I'm telling you works for me, works for our business, may or probably won't even work for you. Great example here on the left is our original long booking form that asked the customer their address, and on the right hand side we removed the address, because everywhere you look, eBay, Amazon, Google will all tell you the less information you ask the user on the checkout page, the more effective the checkout page. Actually, for us, there's absolutely no difference. Zero difference, and we tested this for over a year, so we had a massive sample, and in every single market that we applied this sample to, with the exception of the United States, there was no difference whatsoever. We didn't need the address anyway, so we don't even know still why we're asking the consumer for it. We asked it anyway. So we challenged tradition, we tried the short form, it didn't work, so we've gone back now to actually asking for the address. The consumers convert just the same way, but we get a lot of information that we can use later on in data mining to market to our customers more effectively. But that's the only reason we have the address, no other reason. The banks don't get it in the credit card authorization. There's no way to use address in fraud checking for a business like ours. Going into responsive design, it's the latest cliche. As Sarah said, I've been writing video games since I was 16. I worked for Nintendo, and I noticed the NES hashtag was quite funny, actually. People thought it was a video games conference. Responsive design isn't new. You know, on the top there, you have all those devices that we have to get our websites working for, our JavaScript, our widgets, everything looking right. But when you wrote a video game, it was exactly the same. You wrote a game for the PC, which had great color depth and great resolution, but you had to write it for a ZX Spectrum or an Atari ST or an Amiga. Everything had to work no matter what the resolution. Why I'm bringing this up is not to tell you about responsive design. What I'm bringing it up is to tell you about scale. If you're a small company, you cannot afford to write, you can afford to write responsive design, but you can't afford to test it. So you need to make the decision, if you're a small company, to outsource that to testing to cover all your devices, and later on when you're a lot bigger and we do our testing in-house, you can afford to do the testing on the top yourself for all the devices. But you absolutely have to test on every possible device. I hate to say that, but it's true, and it's not down to bugs in the code that cause that requirement for testing. It's down to just the way people behave. You see the heat map on the bottom left there. You have to get it absolutely right for all the devices. Again, you won't see that until you have a massive amount of traffic. Once you do have a massive amount of traffic, it's evident where you can pick up that extra 1 or 2% of conversion if you handle things correctly. And there's an example of it on our site. You know, you do the obvious. You drop the size of images, you clip images, you dump messages that are secondary in terms of importance and so on. It's easy to do, to be honest with you, but it's expensive to continually test it. So we roll out our code, we roll out our booking engine code 3 times a week. We deploy to every single one of our servers worldwide 3 times a week, sometimes twice a day. And that means that we love to break stuff and fix it very quickly. The problem is a lot of the stuff that you break when you're writing web code, you don't actually know it's broken until you actually see consumers using it. So you have to have consumers all the time hammering away at your site. And this is not this is not retailing. This is behavioral stuff. This is consumers just not liking where you've put the button or the size of the button, or maybe your feedback. One of the things we broke was our little feedback button that users can press to send us a message was actually overlapping slightly on one of the prices at the bottom of the display. The consumer didn't need to see that price because they had all the other prices, but just looked unprofessional to the consumer. So it was a complete disaster in terms of the effect on conversion. If your site looks unprofessional because of bad clipping, bad overlay, you will be hurt. overall, when we started to tweak our code and actually pay attention to tablet devices, we reduced our bounce rate by 30%. That's a pretty phenomenal result. Bearing in mind, 30% of our business, or over 150 million euros of our business, goes through tablet devices. A 30% reduction in bounce rate corresponds to 30% more consumers going through to our product results page. So it's well worth the investment if you have the traffic. Social influence. The final point I have is on social influences. Now, I love talking about the behavior, particularly Europeans here. Everybody knows how the French don't love to queue. The Germans love to queue. Some people love rules, some people hate rules. Some people will look at what others do, some people don't. And it really is down to borders. It really is down to cultures. And in Europe, so we've got all this thing called social influence. So at the bottom of your pyramid, you have your product. You either have it or you don't. The next part of your pyramid is your revenue management. Have you got the price right or not? If you're in a competitive space, is the price relative to your competitors okay? And is the price good enough that the consumer put their hand in their pocket and still take out their wallet? So that's the next part. The bit above that, the third and fourth parts, is the conversion science, the stuff I've just been talking about. That's optimizing your site, making it beautiful, making it run fast, making everything that you can do in the visible space work as well as possible to really maximize that conversion. But the top part is playing around with people's heads. And if you had the opportunity to whisper in the ear of every single one of your site visitors, what would you whisper? You know, if you had the opportunity to sit beside your consumers when they're there with their mouse or their iPad or whatever the hell they're using, what would you say to them? How would you push them over the line? You would try to talk about trust. You would try to get them to trust you. You would say something to them to make them feel better about, yeah, maybe it's their first time visiting your site. They don't know who you are. They don't know what the experience will like. They don't know what to expect from you. So you get people to stand in the back of that queue. You get people to follow the big, huge queue, even though there's one here that's completely empty, the ones that all the French would run up to. But the Germans will be in this queue because that's where everybody else is. So you have reviews. If I can move my slide forward, you'll see it. In car rental reviews are a double-edged sword. We had a 4% increase in conversion when we showed the ratings. So we have, God knows now, we have over 1 million reviews in 14 different languages that we take user-generated content in. And we display that in terms of experience. So we just star rate it. When we introduced the actual reviews and let people actually read what other consumers were seeing, it really badly damaged our conversion. So consumers wanted the trust of measurement by other consumers, but they didn't want to hear the bad stories, because in car rental there's a lot of bad stories, many, many bad stories, and they want to see the bad rating, but once they read the ugly truth of it, they'll run a mile. So for our particular purposes, we show the star ratings, great result, but we didn't go any further because it was a very, very bad result. And you should consider the same for yourselves. Get that user-generated content, get the trust factor from your consumers. Review is very, very good, and that's consistent across all of our markets. The last slide is scarcity endorsement. Again, social messaging, persuasion, you know. Remember what I said, what would you whisper into your consumer's ear right before they run away from your site or they click the purchase button? You would whisper what we whisper, two very important messages. We would say, this is about to sell out. You better hurry up and purchase this. Don't go running off and come back tomorrow because this price won't be here. Scarcity. We'll actually put cars into the display and say, sold out, no more of these. And endorsement, again, currently there's 50 people looking at this car. Someone's already booked this car. Messages that you whisper into the ear, and that persuasion part at the top is the last part of the science. Thank you very much.